Welcome to this presentation on peer response. I hope you're excited to begin peer response. A lot of times people say that this is the most important and the most helpful part of the writing process for them because they actually get some feedback from an audience that's real, and that can provide them with some feedback. All right, so to begin with, here's our purpose. Peer response is an excellent means of improving your writing and also your critical thinking skills. You will find that as a writer, you're obviously going to be getting lots of feedback, and that feedback is hopefully going to be helpful to you in terms of improving your paper. As a reader, when you read other people's papers, you are going to improve your own critical thinking skills because you're going to be looking at what works, maybe what doesn't work, how they can improve that essay, and so that's your critical thinking. You're analyzing that essay within the parameters that you've been given. So there's that. The other way that it can be helpful is that in looking at other people's writing, sometimes we get ideas. Sometimes we get topic ideas for other future papers. A topic that we're reading might make us think of something that you can possibly write about in a future paper. We'll also take a look at various strategies, and by using the strategies that other people use successfully, we can experiment with those in our own paper. You can see how they work. You can also see how, the same purpose can be achieved through various means. Some people will have different variations of ways in which they describe, and they're all descriptive. They all work. And so it will be a means of improving both your writing and your critical thinking skills. A little bit about this slide. I'm not going to click on this video, but what I will do is attach the silent version of this PowerPoint so that you can view the video from there. You can also view the same video in the content section, and I really encourage you to do that. It's very short. I think it's a 2 or 3 minute video, and it will give you kind of the rationale for why we do peer review. The format that we use for peer review at NICC is the PQP format, which is praise, question, and polish. It's always very important to praise the work that other people have done in their writing. We know how personal that writing can be, and so showing the author what they've done really well is an important piece in the process. We can't forget that. Even though we're critiquing and we want to point out the things that maybe need to be fixed, we can't forget to also show the things that were done very well. When we get to the question portion, this is where you're providing your critique, but you're providing that, if possible, in the form of a question. If you kind of phrase it in the form of a question, it's a little less harsh, number one. Number two, it also gives the author kind of the ultimate or the final say in whether or not they decide to change their work. Because it's their work, they can take your comments or they can leave your comments. It's up to them. And you're providing them with suggestions. Now, as the author, if someone suggested something, I would probably take that pretty seriously and really take a close look at it before I would just decline their comments. But again, it's up to the author to decide if they really want to change those things. So forming that in a question format allows the author some ownership. And the last is very hard to do in an online environment, and it's polish. You will not have access to write on someone else's paper, so you will not be able to fix their grammar errors for them. But during this polish stage, what you can do is to just provide kind of a statement overall in terms of the grammar. So if you see that they keep spelling the same word over and over and over again and it's incorrect, maybe make a comment about that. Or if you see that they are missing commas and it's the same error, you can comment on that and just tell them to check that out throughout the entire paper. The second bullet is one of the most important. It's that the best feedback is always specific feedback. We want to avoid saying things like, well done, great job, awesome work, because while those are really positive and they're great things to hear, in the writing world, it doesn't really help us because we want things that are specific. So what was awesome? If you tell me that I had a great intro at the end of the intro, I think that's perfect, except for I don't know what was great about it. Was it the lead sentence? Was it, did I narrow really nicely to the thesis? Was it my thesis statement that was wonderful or great or whatever word you used? Be specific. Tell us exactly what it is that was good about the essay. The same thing goes for the question. You know, don't just say, I don't understand, but what is it that you don't understand? And if you form it in a question, you know, is this descriptive enough? Well, what's the this? Is this sentence? Is this word? Is this paragraph descriptive enough? And then what really is helpful is if you can provide that person with some suggestions. So maybe give them a question and say, hey, I didn't understand this. Can this be more descriptive? And then provide them with some specific suggestions for improvement. Here's another slide. Again, I'm not going to click on these videos, but they are in the content section, and I will also attach the silent version of this presentation so that you can look through those. And again, this is one that I also highly suggest because it gives you an example peer review, also tells you how to comment on other people's work. Now, how this process will work in an online environment. The first and most important step, perhaps, is to have the best version of your paper ready for peer revision. You should not be turning in your first draft. You should be turning in a draft that has been looked over and has been changed numerous times, because in giving your peer review group a bad essay, they're not going to elevate the essay probably any further than what you could have done on your own had you revised it yourself. And so the whole idea of this is that you will provide a draft that is as good as you can get it. You would be able to turn this essay in as is, and that would be your best work. You use peer revision to kind of help you to say, okay, this is as far as I can go. This is as good as my writing on this particular paper can be, and so I'm giving it to 2 other or 3 other people in order to get their opinions so that they can help me to make it better than I could myself. And so if you use it as that, you don't want to turn in a first draft because you're probably not going to get the meaningful feedback that you would if you had revised it a couple of times on your own. Step 2, if you are the writer, you need to upload your paper to the discussion board. And as of right now, the discussion board is not open to your entire class. You're all put into a small group of 3 or 4 individuals, and you will revise everyone's paper who are in that discussion board. I also, as the author, I want you to include a comment that states your strengths and your weaknesses and also what you want help with. And then as the reader, when you go to that, when you're in that position, the second step then is to read the comments that were provided by your author and to take them very seriously and keep those in mind as you read silently. And then you go ahead and you read that paper silently. This first read is simply to get an idea of what the paper is about, so it gives you kind of a gist. You don't want to go through with a fine-tooth comb the first reading. You're just reading to get an idea as to what it's about. Step 3 is mostly on the reader. The reader reads the paper now a second time once they have an idea as to what it's about, and they read with a very critical eye. And during this time, you may want to have a piece of paper that you can jot some notes down. So you want to praise specific things that the author did very well, question those things that might need work, and then polish by making a note of general grammatical errors. The most helpful feedback, again, is that feedback that is specific. I have attached a document when you get to the peer revision discussion board. There is a document there that gives you a series of questions, and my other suggestion would be to print out that revision checklist, peer revision checklist, and have it sitting next to you so that, you know, when you're going to compose what it is that you're going to say to your author, that is there and that's available for you to take a look at. Step 4, this is after you have finished looking and reading over the paper. You're going to compile your thoughts and write a discussion board post of at least 300 words. Now, I know it's a little bit longer than you're normally used to, but there should be plenty of content for you to be writing about. You want to, again, comment on specific things the author has done well and those things that also need to be improved, and make sure that those things are specific. Address the items that the author has wanted help with in the initial post. So if they said that they don't really like their thesis or they really are struggling with their intro, give them some feedback in that particular direction. Here is the significant place peer revision handout if you want more guidance. And again, this is also in the content and in the assignments section. But if you just click on this, it's pretty small here, so let me make it a little bit bigger. You will notice that there's some purpose questions. Does the author establish a dominant impression? What's the author trying to accomplish? Intro, does the intro get the reader's attention? And obviously you don't want to just answer yes or no to those questions. Instead, you want to really provide, a couple of sentences here or there. This is only used as a guide. You do not have to write on everything that's in these lists of 8 things. You can comment on 1 or 2, you can comment on all of them if you really wish, but that's really not necessary. Looking for the things, I guess, that they need most help with and that they've done well, you can use this as a guide. All right, the step 5 then, and this is to the writer, you are going to read all comments that were provided to you by your peer reviewers and read those with kind of a critical eye yourself. So don't take them too personally, number 1, because it is just a peer revision and it's just someone else's opinion. You want to study and use what you will find to be most helpful. And again, some of those comments you might say, oh, I don't really agree with them, and you don't have to use those. Other comments you'll say, wow, I didn't see that. I do need to do some revision. You can always, because it's a discussion board, ask questions for clarification, so go back and forth. And lastly, understand again that you are the final decision maker in this piece of writing, and so make those changes that you see fit. That's the end of this slideshow. I do want to say just a couple of quick things. Revise as you would want others to revise your paper. So provide the kind of feedback that you hope to receive from your group members. Don't be brief. Don't be too broad. Again, be more specific, because you want the author to see these comments and to say, oh yeah, this is what I need to do for my paper. And you obviously want those same comments done to your paper. The other thing that I would say, if you're a little apprehensive and you say, wow, I'm not a very good writer, totally not going to be able to peer revise, do what you are comfortable with, obviously, but also understand that you are all readers. And as readers, you know when something doesn't make sense. You know when you stop understanding something, or you know when things can be added. And so use your senses, maybe not as a writer, but as a reader and as a thinker, to really provide some feedback for those people. So with that being said, I wish you good luck this week as you peer revise people's papers. Enjoy reading other people's work, and hopefully you'll receive some great feedback on your own.